style, sell with Sue. It's your move.
Hey, good for you. You tuned in today. I'm glad to see you here again, friend. Or if it's your first time, I look forward to getting to know you better. Welcome to the No Place Like Home podcast. This is where I share about what's going on with Calgary real estate at the moment and what can you do to really make your house a home, no matter what four walls you live in. And I usually share some wise choices, some tips, some insights, and of course, real life stories. I am not afraid to share the drama. So what's got me going today? I think of that quote off Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. Okay, the market's going down a little bit, and the sellers are calling that out. And it just made me think. Also, I've got some stories to share with you for some investors that lost money, didn't do it so well, and others that did. And maybe you can learn something from hearing, what their experiences were. But first, have you ever wanted to be a fly on the wall in a room when a bunch of people were talking? Well, I'm going to give you that opportunity right now because not too long ago, myself and some other realtors, some colleagues, we had done what we call a realtor caravan and gone around to each of our listings. We give each other feedback and see if there's, anything we can do to get these houses moving on the market. And this is typical in a slower market. Everything has been so busy, and now things are slowing down. And we really need to make sure we're giving value to our sellers and we're out there marketing their properties. So after we see all of the homes, we're sitting around chatting because right now we also have a lot of developers incentivizing buyers to come and buy their product as well. And we were talking about the differences between a resale or a older, already lived in home versus a brand new build. And I just thought you might be interested to hear some of the things that my friends and I pointed out. And in particular, one of the realtors, her sister just bought a brand new built home in a very nice area, but did spend the first year complaining and aggravated about just taking care and calling out deficiencies and trying to make sure everything she wanted done is getting done before the warranty period. And so, yeah, there are some things to think about that you might not have the presence of mind to consider when you're inside the glory and beauty of a wonderful staged, brand newly built home. So, a couple of things that came up that we were quite conscious of is number one, the landscaping. You're usually not going to get much, if any, landscaping on a new home. The show home is going to be to the nines, but your home is not going to be. Maybe the front sod, maybe the sod, but you need to pay attention to that because landscaping actually costs a lot of money. So even though you might be feeling like you're getting a deal on a new built home, remember, you're going to be doing landscaping, and along with the landscaping will also come fencing. So you've got to make sure if you're doing your own fencing, there's a thing called the Real Property Report, the survey that will have come with your home eventually once they get it all approved and through. But you've got to make sure that your fence line lines up on that proper bit of property. So if you're just doing the fence yourself, you run a risk of that because if you do it wrong, guess what? Someone can have you take that whole fence down. So you're often going to be responsible for the fencing. In the home that I have listed right now, that's a resale, already been lived in home. Another thing is they have a beautiful backyard and they've got a gazebo. They actually have a fabulous greenhouse, but it's out of the way and there's mature vegetation. There are fruit trees, Romeo cherry bushes, raspberry bushes, just enough beautiful brick patio. Anyways, it's a beautiful, beautiful backyard. This is not going to happen for many years when you buy a new home. The mature vegetation and trees like these take time to grow. And so I think it's It's a real under the radar bit of value when you are comparing properties. So you might want to just keep that in mind. Also, I won't say in every new community, but in some of the newer communities, the streets and allowance for parking is very narrow. And I have shouted out other communities before, like around Curry Barracks, Alpine Park, great fun little neighborhoods. But the streets, like, forget it if you want to have friends over and have them all park on the streets. Whereas in older neighborhoods, you know, they took pride in having many lanes, lots of room. Back in the day when we were kids, we used to have house parties and all the friends would come over. And so it was a different kind of a lifestyle. And so you also got a different kind of a street. Yeah, so those are some things that you want to consider when you're looking at new homes. And also those first few years when you buy a new home, you're going to be dealing with the settling, whereas in a older home, all of the settling is done. You can see if there's nails popping through the wall. You can tell if the doors don't close properly. The kinks have been worked out. Anyways, there's definitely a couple products on the market. And we were talking about this also because a lot of the builders now are sitting with inventory that's not sold, as we are as well. The market slows down, this happens. And so now sometimes we're seeing builders are offering, hey, buy this new build and we'll throw in a free basement, a fully finished basement, or even we'll throw in a legal suited basement. Now, I do belong to the Calgary Marketing Association, and so if you're not conscious of this, this is marketing. Okay, this is how you get things sold. You throw things in, you add, would you like fries with that? They're going to be getting their money's worth. Okay, you're not just going to get 50 or $75,000, but it is going to get done for you. And if it packages it and it works for people, then that's how builders and developers are able to market. We as realtors are not able to incentivize. This is against our rules and regulations. So we just have to put the product out there. But right now, a big thing is people do seem to want basement suites. They want to have a mortgage helper. And so I just want to touch on that for a second because two out of the three of us that were talking together have tenants, and we deal with tenants, and we're comfortable dealing with tenants. However, you may not be used to dealing with tenants, and if you haven't lived in a house where you have a tenant in the basement, you want to just think about that. Like, someone else is going to be in your space. You're going to hear them. You're going to know when they're cooking or when they're doing laundry, and vice versa. I have a piano in my house, and we did build a basement suite for my mother-in-law, but now a tenant lives in there, and I have to be conscious. Hey, just if the mood strikes me, I cannot go down and just, play the piano anytime there's someone in the basement, and it's right above the tenant's bedroom as well. So living with a tenant, you just want to think about that if that's something you really want to do. Of course, if it's family, that's a whole different thing. Do you want to live with family? I don't know, but worth a thought or two before that's your deciding factor. And one of the other agents was reminding me that when it comes to, smoking or any type of smoking, whether it's cannabis or other things, their lifestyle is not something that you can dictate. So, yes, it sounds great to have a basement suite and get money because someone's living there, but you really want to think about that before you buy it, thinking it's going to be offering that kind of value to you. Okay. So that's the little fly on the wall conversation we had. I hope you got some insight there. Now, I want to give you a wise tip, one that I am taking personally. And why haven't I done this already? I don't know, but let my embarrassment serve you all. I was in a recent home inspection, and this is the second time that this particular home inspector was giving advice to the buyer, which they very much appreciated. about putting in their house a smart water detector. These are not expensive. You can get a package of them. And he said, in this house that my buyer had, it was an older home. And so certainly appliances wear out and you never know when that's going to happen, but you sure don't want it to flood all over while, you don't know what's going on. So put a smart water detector under your washing machine, at the hot water tank, dishwasher. And certainly, if you have any poly B in the house, have these around. They connect with your phone. There's a little, I don't know, an app or something. And we bought a pack and we're going to be putting them in. So if you haven't done that yet, uh, just a lesson from me to you, good ideas need to be put into action or they don't count. So I hope you take that advice and buy some water detectors. Gosh, I should have stocks in those, shouldn't I? And let me just circle back to the poly B. In some neighborhoods, you'll see in all of the comments, this house does have some poly B. This is the what connects your hot water tank to where the water's coming out in your house, all of that plumbing. And in a certain amount of years, Poly B was the name of that kind of material that they used. Since then, we have discovered that they do give out and cause problems with flooding. So generally, people have either replaced out the Poly B with PEX or at least aware and keeping on top of it so it doesn't cause them problems. However, most of my buyers don't even want the problem of hiring someone to change out the poly B. So if you're thinking of selling a house and you know that you have some of this plumbing in it, you might want to just go ahead and get that fixed. It'll give you a easier sale on your house. But let me tell you a story of some buyers I had last year, and they bought a property and it was for a revenue property. So it did have some poly B. And before they rented it out, they had that all fixed, to the tune of several $1,000s for sure, because they have to not only do the plumbing, but drywall where they have to cut in and change it out. So a few different professionals are needed for sure. The sad irony is that these sellers, they also had their own home, which was an older home, and they had poly B in it. But I think they were so concerned about what they were buying that they weren't really assessing their own house. Although we had talked about, when they're ready to retire and move into this bungalow that they bought, we'll come in and have a look at all of the things they need to do in their current house. However, they redid the poly B on the house they bought. They did not on their own house. And don't you know, in short order, they had a leakage. Yes. Now, how frustrating. I know they must have just been kicking themselves. Why didn't they just bite the bullet and get theirs done? But they didn't, and they suffered the consequences. So please, let's learn from others' mistakes. I don't want you to make your own. This is why I love hindsight so much. I can tell you stories, or you can hear people's stories about what happened and didn't work for them so that you can make a better choice for yourself and hopefully avoid some of the lessons they had to learn the hard way. And so let me segue that into show me the money. How are people making money in real estate? Because it doesn't always, work. It's not the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And I think I have three little stories to tell you. The first one is about my Auntie Gail, who I love very much and totally admire. She is an accomplished musician in BC, but not really an accomplished real estate investor. And it's a good laughing joke we have in our family when Auntie Gail bought her condos. So back many years ago, she decided that she wanted to start investing in real estate. So she did buy a condo, in the city where she lived because the market was going up. It was very strong at that time. And she was so excited. She got in, she bought her condo, and the market kept going up. And then it turned and started going down. And after a little while, she started getting worried. So she got rid of that condo. She took a loss on it, but she was just like, I got to get out of this before it sinks right to the bottom. Well, she did that two more times over her short order, bought things that were exciting. Maybe she had heard, were good investments. They were going up. And then when they started going down, she got worried, scared, and she sold them and cut her losses. This is a typical problem that um, maybe initial real estate investors have is they try and get in on a trend, make some money. And when they are not making the money, then they cut their losses. I don't know why, like maybe some people are a little bit lucky and some people are unlucky, but once you start investigating and learning, you will see she made a typical mistake. She's not the only one. Many people do this. And in fact, in her last purchase with her and my Uncle Jim, they had heard that speed ferry, the fast ferry or whatever they were going to call it, was going to go from Vancouver to Nanaimo. They were building it. It was all the rage. Boy, oh boy, when that fast ferry came in, there was going to be a big surge of people moving out to Nanaimo because of the convenience. And so they quickly bought a lot right on the ocean and they started building a house there. Of course, over the next few years, what happened? The ferry was never built. Council squashed that. And so here they made a decision, based on hopefully getting a good return on their investment. Now, in hindsight, they have a beautiful home on the ocean in Nanaimo, and it's all worked out well. In the end, they've got a beautiful investment with returns on it now that they've owned it for very many years. But okay, that's story number one. Number two, I want to share is one of the first realtors that I started working for over 20 years ago in the industry. Really busy agent. I certainly learned the ropes by working on all of those deals. It was 2004 when I started, and we were having a boom. You would put a listing on the market and it would be sold like within 5 minutes, no conditions. It was crazy. Well, he and his wife, they knew real estate, and so they did have some investment properties, but I guess they each had some of their own. And when that boom started dying and things were going down, the wife was really insecure about her investment property. It was in an inner city neighborhood, but it was on a busy street. It had renters in it, but she just was not feeling confident. She thought the market was going to bottom out and she was going to lose her investment. So, and you have to go with how you feel and how you're compelled with your real estate. So she sold her property, but I have often thought over the years and over subsequent booms, and especially over the last few years, wow, how much more equity she would have had, what an increase on that property she would have had if she would have kept it for a longer time. And so let's talk about someone who did keep their property for a really long time. My mother-in-law, her and her husband bought a condo. It was a brand new being built condo, like 30 years ago, just about. They bought it for almost $100,000. And then they enjoyed the rest of their lives in it. They enjoyed the kind of building, making friends in the building, had lots of amenities in it. And 30 years later, that condo, when we started assessing it and mom was thinking of moving, was worth $300,000. So they made a very fair increase. I mean, on a condo, you never know for sure how condos are going to go. So it was very fair. But the next year, so we started looking at prices and it had gone up. But over the next year, so she wasn't really ready to list right at that moment, and it went up another 100,000 just in 1 year. So thank goodness that she didn't put it up for sale right when we started looking, but she was thinking and hemming and hawing and, taking her time. But good thing for her because it went up another 100 just in that year for her particular building. So, what is the lesson that you are learning from this? Buy and hold. Real estate is a long-term investment, and it certainly can decrease in value during those dips. And after we have a high surge like we did over the pandemic and things were going high, it's natural, it's reasonable. Of course, things are going to calm down and come down in price, but they will level off somewhere and we will go along with our lives and then we'll have another increase. This is the ebb and flow of real estate. And if you really want to put your money in and use it as an investment, you've got to buy and hold it. Now, I just will also say this, that even though people try, I don't know if you can really consciously time the market. Okay, I mean you can try for sure, and you can read books on it, but I have known many competent, experienced realtors who have gone in and bought product when they thought it was timing the market, and it ended up being, well, sometimes just on the tail end of a bubble. So if an experienced realtor who's working in real estate every day cannot, nobody is a fortune teller. So my advice always is, when is the right time to buy or sell? Honestly, the biggest predictor of that needs to be when it's the right time for you. And sometimes people get lucky. My daughter bought a condo just as the pandemic was starting. Yes, it has increased very nicely over the past 4 or 5 years, and lucky for her, but the timing was right. And then if it doesn't increase right away, at least you go with your gut and things will turn out. Look at my Auntie Gail living on the ocean now. So I think that was a good turn of events for her. All right. Have I given you some things to think about? Well, I hope so. And when you feel the need to get moving, I hope you will connect with me. I will help you each step of the way. And you can contact me through the podcast, through my website at suestyles.com. I hope you'll reach out when you're ready. Okay, bye for now.